Okay, so to keep things going, let's go back in time a little bit, right? So, we talked about the topics beforehand. I wanted to make sure we save this actual conversation for the podcast. I didn't want us to reveal our hands too soon. We were all raised in the 90s, right? We were all raised in the wild, wild west of anime, right? And again, we kind of know where the 2000s big three is, right? So we're gonna get to that in a moment. But I was curious to hear your guys' opinion on what you guys would consider to be the big three in the 90s, right? When things were getting established, when again it was much harder to get your hands on certain animes, and you really had to find out from your homeboy at school who happened to buy the random VHS at the comic book store because you had no other way of knowing. I'll start. I think again the not so big elephant in the room, the obvious choice, Dragon Ball Z was the one, right?
Mhm.
That was Toonami's bread and butter. We all know where we were when certain promotional videos when Toonami dropped with Dragon Ball Z clips, right? I think
Mhm.
it was everywhere. Obviously, we're the generation that kind of carried that in America, at least, to the promised land, of like
Mhm.
being one of the goats. The other two choices on my personal list, and that's why, like, again, I'm curious to hear your guys' take. I think the second runner-up for me would be Yu Yu Hakusho, as
Okay.
far as one of the big three of the 90s. And then, and I'll say why real quick. I think for me, I didn't get into Yu Yu Hakusho till later, or later than most people. And going back to watch later, I could see why it was such a compelling show, right? Like Yusuke is a great protagonist. Like he's not a good guy. Like he has a good heart, but he's not really a good guy. And I think this is what kind of made him compelling. Like he's like a bad boy with a good heart. Um, and then, of course, the supporting cast was just fire. It was just fire. You got basically like your woman version of Master Roshi with the trainer. Hiei or Hiei or however it's pronounced. Hiei, right? Come on now.
He,
Hiei
he.
was Sasuke before Sasuke. Let's just call it for what it is. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? It's just the
Yeah.
swordsman with the third eye and the black fire dragon. Like, come on, we all know where we were. I wasn't
Yeah.
even into it.
Yeah.
Now I was
Yeah.
like, yo, what is this? This looks
Man,
flames.
greatest tournament in history.
Right, the Toguro brothers, bro. I just need this final spirit gun. I'm like, yo, I need to catch up
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah, man.
I think its impact cannot be denied. And then my third choice, going on impact that cannot be denied, Gundam Wing. Gundam Wing is in my big three. Like you guys both know how I feel. I'm not the mech anime kind of guy. Never have been. There's exceptions for me, but I'm like, bro, everyone I knew watched Gundam Wing. I knew every single character without watching the show. My cousin had me sleep over so we could watch Endless Waltz when it dropped on Toonami.
Oh man, my
I remember when I got to Japan, he was like, "Yo, if you could just get me Wing Zero, I will send you the bread. Just come back with that Wing Zero model." And I'm like, "Bro, I can't, I can't lie. The Gundam with the angel wings, bro. You can't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like,
90s aesthetic. That's a testament to know what time he was in.
yes, the drawings, the sound effects, the guns. It's what I'm saying. Like, for me who was not a mech enthusiast, I wasn't watching Big O or any of those things. It's like you cannot escape Gundam Wing. So
Mhm.
those were my picks for big three. What about you guys?
I would definitely say, actually, I'm not going to say Dragon Ball Z, because I do feel like since you said it, I want to give more room to other bigger nominations as well. I
Mm.
would definitely say Digimon.
Okay.
Digimon was like a very big pinnacle part of the 90s, especially the first two seasons with the original cast that kept revolving, the original
Yeah.
kids and the descendants of the little kids with their new friends.
I guess my question would be why would you say that Digimon hit harder than Pokemon? They were always being compared to each other.
To be honest, bro, like, and it goes back to our last podcast discussion. I just kind of felt the anime after the Indigo League is
Hmm.
just like Pokemon didn't really slap as hard as the video games.
Mm.
So it's kind of like, yeah, you kind of consider them separate, but like, yeah, it was good, but it wasn't really nothing that I could miss a Pokemon episode, I would say. I could miss it.
Go to
Fair.
sleep.
No, you're right. And
Yeah, I would.
not miss anything.
But a Digimon episode, bro, like Digimon has such great continuity
Hmm.
that Like when they fought the four dark masters. Like the fact that I found out that this metal Seedramon was the first Seedramon that they fought,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, so like you never. It was just such a like a very like undertone type of thing that you never would have realized. Like, wow, one of the first villains that they fought became this big titan of a character.
True.
R.I.P. Seedramon.
Yeah. And that's a good point you bring up. 'Cause I remember, like Jordan and I talk about this all the time. It's like we remember where we were when I saw War Greymon and Metal Garurumon for the first time. You're right. You could not miss an episode. You'd be like, "Yo, I need to be home. I'm not sleeping over. I'm not going outside. I need to be in my room, TV on. I cannot miss this episode." Go ahead,
Mhm.
Tim.
Okay, I definitely gotta like I'm gonna say a double one here, and
Okay.
I feel like one is a limited series, but one is an ongoing series. Gundam Wing
Okay.
and Ronin Warriors.
Ronin Warriors? Nah, you
Bro,
gotta
no,
elaborate, please.
no. All right, Ronin Warriors. And that's why I said it was a limited series.
Mhm.
It was a limited series, like Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer. But bro,
He's not wrong.
Ronin Warriors was literally the boy version of Sailor Moon.
It was. It
It
was.
like even when I rewatched it back, I was like, bro, this is darker than I thought. Like all
Horrible.
that's like you mean to tell me all this stuff was going on? Like even Gundam Wing, bro. Watching that now as an adult, like
Mm-hmm.
especially knowing economics of the world, and
Yeah.
Yes.
it's like, wow.
It's a political anime. Gundam Wing is a political anime. When you get older, you're like, oh, wow, oh.
Mm.
They were
And
talking about war and country negotiations.
and so my third one, and this is a very big one because I really feel like it really hit multiple communities. Yu-Gi-Oh.
As a big three.
Yes. Because in
Hmm.
terms of trading card games and even like early days of cosplay,
Right.
video games, it hit all three.
You right. They used to have Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments in the mall. In the mall. Aventura Mall, I go and you just
Aventura
see
Mall,
the
kid.
table set up by the
Yeah.
food court. You right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. Jory, go ahead.
And we agreed on all check marks, all boxes checked,
Yeah.
man. But I'm gonna go with something different.
Okay.
I think we all have to admit we watched Sailor Moon.
Yes, we did.
Sailor Moon hit
It
for a
did.
female, for
I
girls, and yeah.
but you okay. So I thought about Sailor Moon also, right? Because you're
Yeah.
right. Even as guys, we did watch it. But I feel like Sailor Moon's continuous popularity has been mostly Japan, right? Whereas like Dragon Ball's kind of like lingered in the
Yeah.
West, right? At a certain point, like even the girls that grew up watching Sailor Moon, if you were to ask them now, they're like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? They don't know what the characters are up to. They don't
Yeah.
know like, what's been going on with the series ever since.
But for at that time, we're in the
Mhm.
90s. It hit.
My older sister
was watching it.
Mhm.
My brother still remembers it. I'm pretty sure anybody in their 40s was like, oh, that's Sailor Moon, without a question. We already know the Twistito mask skit. We all know when he turned the Moonlight Knight stick. We all know when her sister came out of nowhere stick, the talking cats. That was the original Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Mhm.
You feel me? So you had that. It still hit, and then Sailor Moon's influence is literally on a lot of costumes,
Everything
on everything.
The magical
Naruto
girl.
doing a tribute, the sexy jutsu. How's his hair? Sailor Moon. That's
Mhm.
the first thing we thought of,
Good point.
So that'd be my first one because we all knew how her we all knew she did the Structo this as well.
Mhm.
You feel me?
With this little shining tiara.
Yeah, the A-Tiara, the Structo this, man. And we all remember her the seasons, dog. And then they had very cool monster designs.
They did.
And it was horror because those monsters was scary.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little dark at times.
Yeah, it did.
So yeah, not Naruto, but Sailor Moon definitely is one. I'm gonna go and say He said Ronin Warriors, which is cool, but Rurouni Kenshin.
And that's why I said you and I were gonna argue. Because I'm like, when I was making my list, I saw it and I was like, I know Jory's gonna say this, and I'm not gonna pick it on purpose, so we could debate.
Yeah, Rurouni Kenshin, man. The first episode, you're like, whatever. But then the second episode hits, and I remember very clear. I was walking by, and I wasn't gonna watch it because I'm like, yo, a samurai that doesn't kill. What are you, man?
Yeah.
Right? And then the guy was talking, yapping, and Kenshin drew his sword, and the guy's head went through the roof. I wasn't finished speaking yet. So long. And I was just like, nah, dog. And I kept watching. And then it got to where it got to the second villain was Aoshi Shinomori.
Mm-hmm.
He had the trench coat on, and he had the cut hair. He had the cut hair, the trench coat on, and he had the two Wadachi swords, and he was a ninja.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing that arc, and I was just like, "Nah, this is it. This is it."
Okay, so now here's where I want to argue.
Yeah.
Do you feel? And I'm open to being wrong here. I feel like Rurouni Kenshin is held in such high regard because it's aged so well. I feel like if we're talking about, like, to your point about Sailor Moon, like you said, it was undeniable. Like, even if you didn't watch it, you watched it because everybody around you knew about it. Like you said, all the references were there. Rurouni Kenshin, I mean, I knew it was a thing, right? Obviously, like you said, it was on. You'd see it in the promo release. I don't feel like it was talked about in its era as much as later on. Like, we got a little bit older. You kind of go back and watch it. The animation holds up. The storyline, the characters are all A1, but at that time, we're just like, what is the playground conversation? I just don't remember as many Rurouni Kenshin talks.
Well, from the thing is, with Rurouni Kenshin, they would never say his name. They would call him the Batosai.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, Jory, you watch the Batosai? I said, the Batosai? You mean Rurouni Kenshin? Oh, yeah. They were, the name was his nickname, his murder name, hit so hard because I would catch myself saying, man, the Batosai. When they would talk about him, it was like this amplified guy. And so everybody knew him as that. They did not care about Kenshin. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So it did hit. You'd be like, oh yeah, you watch the Batosai? And you'd probably be like, what? The Batosai? But not knowing they mean Rurouni Kenshin.
I guess that's a fair point. Because
the
reason why I would even say that, right, is like we look at, for example, shows like Tenchi Muyo, right? Or I'd even say Outlaw Star to some degree, right? And then also Inuyasha, right? Those were also kind of contenders on that tier in that time. Whereas, like, I feel like although they had their cult following, Rurouni Kenshin kind of grew and grew and grew. Where, like, Inuyasha, while popular, is not kind of held as in the same high regard, as Rurouni, as Kenshin is, basically.
Mm-hmm. You ready? You ready for the next one?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Zoids. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why.
Zoids was Metabots to me, but go ahead.
But yo, Zoids, fam. No, you could say that. But with Zoids, man, dog. With Zoids, they would be like, yo, Jory, you remember the Berserk Fury? They had the toy kits. So first you would get the Gundam collection, then the Zoids came out. Mm-hmm. The fact that the one Zoid, Liger 01, had the transformations. If I show you a Zoids picture, you remember that's the Liger that had the different modes, like Mega Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think after that part, Zoids blew up. Zoids had one of the longest runs. And it kind of fell off after Gundam Seed because they decided to do the fusion. But the Zoids, two of the best seasons was Zoids New Century and Zoids Chaotic Century. That's man.
I'm
trust
not
me.
With you, because like
you probably weren't into it.
Yeah. No, to your point, because like for example, my cousin who was a little bit younger than even us, right? He was a Beyblade fanatic, and it wasn't for me. But I could see it kind of felt like Zoids. I'm like, this is something I don't understand, but I'm watching it play out.
Yeah, they had a lot of B rank level animes. I would say Beyblade, Zoids, Metabots. I was like, bro, when you said Metabots, I was like, bro, I forgot all about that, bro.
Yeah.
Metabots was like Mega Man Battle Network Pass.
Man. Y'all remember Monster Rancher?
Of course.
But yes,
I was so upset that they
Sakura.
never finished. They never finished it. But there was a lot of B. To Mac's point, there was a lot of B. Ranking anime that were very popular.
Ultimate
But
Muscle.
I'll say oh man, Ultimate Muscle, man. Yo. I watched the season, man.
It was
good, man.
Yeah,
it was compelling.
Character designs aside, I mean, granted, there were actually pretty interesting character design. Like the storyline actually wasn't half bad. Not for nothing.
Alien wrestlers signed me. NWO and the wrestler was hot.
It wasn't half bad.
Oh man. But I'll say my final runner-up. You guys probably would disagree with me, but I'd say G Gundam.
I mean, so when it comes to Gundam, I just say Gundam Wing because it like that was literally us. You know what I'm saying? That was literally our era. But I don't think there's a Gundam choice that would be wrong, right? I think the Gundam franchise as a whole, you know, kind of hit. Or like you said, G Gundam. I remember they had the original Gundam Wing on Adult Swim for like older audiences. It was just a time where it's like Gundam anything was just like out of there, you know. Yeah. So I wouldn't really argue with G Gundam. I feel like it's kind of in the same ballpark of like. It was just this era of like the mech anime era, you know, like that was the blueprint at that time.
That's right. So yeah, Sailor Moon, Zoids, and Rurouni Kenshin.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not even mad at your list, because truthfully, like. The reason why I would allocate it, because if you were just talking Toonami, that was like the main butter. Anything else on Jetix, Fox Kids, kind of was like, you caught it, you know? But they had some very good. The Beyblade was amazing. That's still one of the best songs. That's still one of the best songs, man. And you know, Sasuke with his Drasil. Well, not Drasil was the green one. And I remember the names, man. Dragoon was the fake Sasuke.
We also had a pretty top tier anime intro runs. Like even when you're saying Sailor Moon, I'm like, bro, the theme song was just stuck in my head. It's stuck in my head. It's right up there with Dragon Rock the Dragon, like low key. But Sailor Moon, G is the one.
Man, Dragon Ball Z in America hit different. They had the Dragon Balls come first in 3D and spit. You are now about to watch Dragon Ball Z. Yo, do you understand what was happening to me? And then when I heard the real Yu Yu, they played it by an accident one time on Toonami. They played the real Yu Yu Hakusho song, doom 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 doom, and I'm like, yo, this Japanese music? No, that's just crazy.
Even when you go to the comic book store, like not for people will say it's quote unquote overrated. I'm like, that Chala head Chala in Japanese Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, when we catch the Spanish channel.
Yeah, bro. KO tonight, Chala. Like it just it does something to you.
That man was singing with all his heart, dog.
Yeah.
That was a good anime run. But then it was I think it was like my early part of like high school. That's when Bleach started to come into my life, Naruto, and One Piece as well. And like when those three came in, I just got consumed by them.